Hello, everyone. My name is John Harrison, and I'm your instructor for this class, Intercultural Communication and Conversation. In this course, we're going to be working together to talk and understand each other. It's a nice idea. This is week 1, so we'll be going over introducing the course, expectations, and start going over some of the themes, the recurring themes that we're going to have in this class. Nothing too major, nothing too stressful for this week. It is, after all, just week 1. We are going to have, as scheduled right now, weeks 7, 8, and 9 will be in person, but all the rest of the 15 weeks will be untacked. We'll be using these YouTube and e-class to manage how things work. So for right now, the lectures will be over video. Hopefully it's okay for you. I just want to make a note. These clips I'm speaking to you right now, these are short little clips, so they might sound a little disjointed. They're not just one long stream of consciousness. They are grouped together. So if it sounds unnatural or disjointed, it's because it is. Because my brain can't, I'm trying to keep things a bit organized, and I'm finding that stopping and starting is more helpful. It's better. All right. I say hopefully it's okay because for this kind of class, conversation class, and trying to have this over Zoom with 28 or, well, not 38, but 28 or 32 students at one time, it's very unwieldy. It's really not pleasant at all for anyone, for myself as the instructor or for you as the student, especially for conversation. So we're going to be using workarounds to make it fit together. But it will work overall. Not as good as it should be, and not as good as in-person classes, I feel, but that's how life is. We're making do. We're doing the best we can, as it is. Now, as mentioned before, my name is John Harrison. I've been working at the university for a number of years now, and this class allows us a lot of leeway, a lot of avenues to go under. But first, I want to introduce a little bit about myself. As you can guess from my accent, I am from North America, from the United States, and I do not live in Chuncheon anymore. I moved to Hanam City in Gyeonggi-do, so I don't live. Well, I live about an hour away. So when we have class, in-person class, I'll drive up. It's perfectly fine. Otherwise, I'll work from home, which is pretty good. My wife is going to give birth later this semester, so it's nice to work from home, so I can be around for that. So I'm trying out, and hopefully it does work. This semester, Adobe, they've updated their Premiere Pro program, which is the program I use to make these videos. They have auto captioning. I'm seeing how it goes, seeing how it works, and hopefully there'll be subtitles, there'll be captions for you in case there's some misunderstanding. So hopefully if you can provide some feedback if it's helpful or if it's distracting to you. So, in this class, there is a course book we'll be using. It's a PDF right now. It's available on eClass. Make sure you download that PDF. When we have tests, the test materials, the test questions will come from that PDF file, from that manuscript. So please make sure that you download it and review it, because it's what's going to be on the test. As you can imagine, since tests will be in untacked mode, all tests will be treated as open book tests. And we'll get into more detail in this later in the lecture, but I have to acknowledge the reality of the situation. I can't see you, so I have to assume you'll have all videos available, all videos open, and all the books available to you as well. So every test is going to be made with the assumption that you have the book open and that you can find exactly the correct information. So we'll have 2 tests overall. There'll be quizzes as well, but the quizzes will be much simpler, much more, much easier, for lack of a better term. But nothing too stressful to worry about. But the 2 tests, the midterm and the final, will be much more significant. Still nothing too stressful, but they'll be more significant. Something I want to mention while it's in my mind. Now, since we're doing these weekly videos, you need to watch the videos. You need to attend the videos. This is how we get classes. Now, obviously, I can't see you. I don't know what's going on. But actually listen to the videos and watch the videos. Some students, in the past, they put on the video and then they mute the video. The video plays, so they get attendance, but they don't actually attend the video. They don't watch the video. They don't listen to the video. They don't comprehend the video. And this is a problem when there's the test. So please make sure that you actually pay attention. There is information in here for you. Don't try to cheat the system that way. It only hurts you on the test. It only hurts you on the projects as well. It's very important that you actually watch the videos. So that is something that I have experienced in the past. So please be aware of that. That I'm aware of that it is a thing. All right. With that, I have our first question for you. Since this class is intercultural communication and conversation, I want you to think about what culture actually is, and what does it mean to have culture, and what are the expressions of culture. There's lots of different definitions. There's the textbook definitions. There's the physical manifestations of culture, of course, depending on physical environments. We see this most obviously with food and clothing. People in different places around the world eat different food and wear different clothing depending on the conditions of their environment. So I'm reminded that people in Thailand, they don't make kimchi because they don't need to make kimchi. They don't need to pickle or ferment foods like we do in colder areas. Korea makes kimchi, Germany makes sauerkraut, England made cheese, all these different kinds of fermentations that are very food that are very important for survival, that become part of our cultural identity. So yes, there's the physical manifestations, clothing, food, art, music, things like that. But think about what really is culture and how it is. So it's your first thought experiment, your first thought exercise, rather, is what is culture? So what is culture? This first bit of homework, this will be a discussion question on E-class, and I'm going to ask you to provide a definition of what you feel, what you think culture is. Discussion questions on the discussion board, they count as our class discussion, our class participation, our class attitude, part of our grade. And you'll see in our in our next section and later on in this lecture how important that is, because it is part of your grade. So you don't have to do it, of course. You just get zeros. for the grade. But we'll talk about grading in a bit. But your first question to answer is, what is culture? And that will be on e-class for you to answer. And I'm going to ask you to provide an example of a tangible piece of culture, tangible being something we can feel, we can touch, and an intangible example of culture. And so provide, when I say examples, I want you to provide exact examples, not just the idea of an example. Don't just say an example of tangible culture is food. Yeah, but what kind of food? Is spaghetti part of Korean culture? No, it's not. It is food. No, it is definitely food, but it is not a tangible piece of Korean culture. I'll write an example on e-class as well, so you can understand what format I'm looking for, and as an example answer, so you don't get confused or overly confused. The discussion parts, for lack of a better term, if you participate in the discussions, you'll get full points. It's easy as that. So it's a real nice way to shore up your grades. Now, soon we are going to get back into the lectures, and it's going to transition into PowerPoint voiceovers. So the background music and everything else is going to go away. All right. See you soon. Goodbye. With that, let's take a look at the class description. What are we going to be doing? What are our goals, and what are the main themes for this course? First, there's a few main goals. First is prepare you, students, for public speaking and presenting using English. We're going to make sure that we understand the different parts of presentations, of public speaking, and practice doing it ourselves. Since this is an untacked course, though, of course, we won't be able to do it in person, obviously, except for 3 weeks out of the semester. So most of our projects will be online video projects. So we'll have to delve into video productions a bit, and mostly audio, because that's the most important thing. But we'll talk about that more. Second, big theme of this I want us to think about is there is no perfect English. There are only perfect Englishes. So this is for you to become aware of the different kinds of English, different styles of English. You know, generally, American English and British English. Those are the two biggest kinds, we say, the two biggest varieties. The most obvious ones with spelling and a bit of grammar, mostly spelling and vocabulary. But there's a lot, and we'll get into different accents, and I want you to be aware of these different accents. That within America itself, there are many different accents of English. I speak with what's called a West Coast accent, how I talk. My parents grew up in the state of Texas. Their vocabulary is different, but they lived most of their adult lives outside of Texas, so that while their vocabulary is Texas, their accent is not. But my aunt, who has always lived in Texas her whole life, she has a very strong Texas accent along with the Texas vocabulary. And so there's lots of different kinds. Even in smaller countries like England itself, not counting Scotland, Ireland, or Wales, England itself has many different accents within a small area. The difference between the northern English accent and the southern English accent is very identifiable. So that will be a general overall theme of this course. There is no perfect English, only perfect Englishese. We'll talk about this more as we go along, and especially in a later segment of this lecture. But that is the most important thing to understand for intercultural communication is just that, if you're speaking English and the other person is speaking English, you're both speaking English differently. You're not speaking it worse, and they're not speaking it worse if you're both understanding each other. And that's the main goal, to make sure that we are understood and that we understand others. So, as I mentioned before, since we're running in untacked mode, We're going to have mostly online assignments, online quizzes, online discussions, online projects, video projects, audio projects, things like that. So that's how it's going to work. For 3 weeks, we'll be in person, and we'll see how things are going. But I want those to be very active and exciting, hopefully, the classes for us, since they'll be very special for us. About myself, my name is John Harrison, as you heard at the beginning of this video. Contact information, I think it's best on eClass is the best form, best avenue for contacting me. You can email me at jharrison@cnue.ac.kr. If you have something really important, you can text me. That's okay. I ask you, please do not send me Kakao messages, because then I see your Kakao ID and your Kakao nickname, and I don't know who you are. I don't know what your faces look like. So this is very important. When you email me or text me, make sure you include your name, grade, major, and class in the message. This is actually automatically done on eClass now. So that's why it's really cool. So I can see which section you're in, which class you're in, what major you're in, and I get that background information so I can better answer your question and help you your situation. So that's quite helpful. But there is a better way. There is a Q&A section on eClass. There you can ask your question, I can answer it, and everyone can see the question and answer. But you don't need to put your name. It can be anonymous. So this way, you can ask a question about an assignment, about a project, about a test, and everyone can see your question, and then everyone can see my answer. So everyone benefits from your question. This is better than sending me an email, because if you have a question, if you don't understand something, there's probably 10 other students who also don't understand. And it's happened to me before last year, where I got 20 emails asking the same exact question, hot diggity dog. After the second one, I was kind of tired of it. So if you're unclear on something, I think the Q&A section on eClass is the best method of asking that. If it's not something personal to your situation, something unique. But if you have a question on the test, the assignment, the material, then certainly ask on Q&A. If it's something about your grade, then ask in a private venue over eClass or email. I think it's better that we have a written record of everything. All right, let's talk about what I expect. Now it says requirements. Another word we might use is expectations. You will be expected to attend each class and participate in each class. This is not a passive class. Despite being untacked, it's not passive. I know. But even if I wanted to, unfortunately, because of the class size, having a discussion class on Zoom it's hellish, to be honest, and it's not good. So we're going to run asynchronous. We're going to have video lectures, and you're going to respond to these video lectures. Make sure after this first class that you attend the class on the scheduled day of our class. That's Tuesday or Thursday. Make sure you watch the videos, you attend the material, you view the material on that day. That's how we'll count attendance. If you want to review the materials, they're all freely available on YouTube. So that won't be a problem. Access won't be a problem. But you need to make sure you see the material on eClass. Also, this has happened before. eClass can be very picky about things. So if my video finishes and you X out with 1 second left, eClass might not count you as 100% attended. If you have that situation, please message me and we'll take care of it. We'll fix it. Yeah, that's not a problem. If you only watch 50%, then it's a problem. But if you've actually watched the video, but eClass only counts as 99% watched, then we'll deal with that situation. But I suggest you watch the entire video, let it finish by itself, and then everything will count. All right. Have interest, take interest, have a positive attitude. So I know it's a bit difficult. I say this from experience because I'm a very negative person myself. We need to have a positive attitude in class. We need to bring a positive attitude. We need to have a positive attitude. We need to fake a positive attitude. That's what we'll have to do in class, and that's what we'll do. Hot diggity daffodil, that's what we'll do. So you'll be asked discussion questions, and on e-class there is a discussion board. So there'll be discussion questions there that need to make answers for, and make sure you participate. And don't be afraid to participate. Let's talk about how grading will work for this class, for this semester. Now, usually, back in the before times, this university had a strict curve. Everything was graded on a curve. That meant that 20% of students could get A's. 20% of students must have received C or lower. So, and most students were allowed to get B's. So we had a strict ratio of how many students were allowed to get grades, regardless of their absolute grades, their final score. This was meant to help prevent grade inflation. And these past 3 semesters have proven that is a factor, so maybe it wasn't such a bad idea, but it is quite cruel. I haven't been told officially, but I expect that this semester will be like last semester and like the year before, where we are allowed to grade absolutely. The grade you get is the grade you get. There'll be no curving involved. But if something changes, I will keep you informed. But let's go over the details of what I'm going to be looking for in this class and what I'm going to be looking for from you and your efforts. Now, for this class, and in general for my classes, I grade on a progressive scale. That means throughout the semester and on this very first day, your score right now is 0. You have 0 points, absolutely 0. And as the semester goes on, you'll get points, you will gain points. I like to think of this like role-playing game. As in, you start your little character at level 1, and through playing the game, fighting monsters, completing quests, and doing all those nice fun things, you get experience points, and you level up. This will hold true for this class as well. The more you do, the more you'll get. But conversely also, the less you do, the less you'll get. Nothing comes from nothing, as they say. So this is, I think, a very healthy attitude. If you put in low effort, you'll get a low grade. That's to be expected. And just to elucidate a little bit, the baseline, the average is 75%. And for every project you are given, you will get an explanation of what to expect, describing what is an A grade, what is a B grade, what is a C grade. So you'll have an idea of what to do and if you can choose your grade. And in fact, I think that's an excellent thought. In this class, and in fact all your classes, you are choosing your grades, and you are choosing whether to work harder, do more work, put more time in, put more effort in, and get a higher grade. And you're choosing to get a lower grade in a trade-off for effort and time. That's your choice, and I respect that choice. But it is something to be aware of, that low effort will result in a lower score. I think that's fair, but we shall see how things pan out. But I think the metaphor using a video game, used in the RPG, is a very apt one, and I think that's a very healthy one to think of, that, the more that every day as you participate, every week rather, every class you participate, you show up, you complete tasks, you'll get more XP. And that XP will result in your final level, your final score. Let's go over some of the categories that we're going to be grading on. First, attendance. Now, with us being mostly online this semester, this should be easy peasy. But attendance is important. E-class can be a funny thing, so be careful with E-class. Be careful with making sure that you, so to speak, attend the entire class. There are time limits on the actual class time. Now, my lectures, my videos, they'll just be up on YouTube. You can watch those any ding dang time you want. But the official attendance will be taken on the day of our regular scheduled class, whether it be Tuesday or Thursday. So make sure that you make the time to officially attend the class, and make sure you officially attend the entire period. Please don't start the video lecture at 11:20 p.m. That's living dangerously, because, what if and when I have more than 40 minutes material, you won't be able to consume all of it before the next day, before the deadline, and that's a problem. So make sure you don't fall into that trap. Find the time earlier in the day. That will help you quite a lot to not lose silly points for attendance. Now, for the 3 weeks that we're in person, if everything goes right, and I really hope it does, I don't expect this to be a problem, because there's only 3 weeks. But we have class at designated time. If you are not in a seat ready for class at the time, you're marked as late or absent, as it may be. Doesn't matter if you put your bag down. Doesn't matter that your bag isn't going to take the test for you. You are. So you're the most important thing. So just be aware of that. That's not going to be I don't think that'll be a big issue this semester. We're mostly online, so we're using online attendance. But please be aware of that. We're trying to maintain a sense of schedule and, regimented schedule at that. So we have attendance. That is a factor. I don't think we're going to have any Zoom classes. I think I prefer the asynchronous videos, lectures. If we had smaller groups, a class of 15 students, for example, we could have Zoom classes and be interacting. But with 20, 25, 30 students, it is unwieldy, and it's not fun for anyone. So let's not worry about Zoom classes. But in the event that you have a Zoom class, I just want to throw it out there. Make sure you're in front of your computer, like in front of your camera's turned on. Don't just point. Don't just have your camera just break, or have it pointed at a wall and you're not there. That's no good for anybody. That's quite insulting to everyone involved, including yourself. So don't do that. But I don't think that'll be an issue for us this semester. Participation assignments, that's going to be 20% of the grade. Now, participation in an asynchronous class, that's going to be a little difficult. It's going to be different. We're going to use the discussion boards on eClass. And being an active member of the class is important. And so the proportion of the final grade reflects that. To earn points in this category, you need to participate, be an active team member, ask and answer questions. Also, there will be assignments. These aren't projects, big projects. These are smaller projects, things that are just to get the juices flowing. And so this is quite important for us, to make sure that we're understanding. And we'll talk about this. So participation assignments have been combined this semester, and hopefully it proves fruitful. But assignments, this is going to be basically homework. We're not going to have homework every week, but sometimes you'll be fully informed when they happen and what they are. Nothing too stressful there, though. Quizzes. Now, quizzes are going to be a factor every week, or most every week, short online quizzes. And this will help me keep informed and make sure that what's going on. If you, the students, the audience, are actually understanding the material. Since we're not able to interact, in person for most of the semester, I can't tell if you are understanding and comprehending or if you are not. So quizzes are there to help me understand what's working, what's not working, and how's it going. So quizzes are part of your grade, but they're a minor part. And really, if you attend the class and watch the video lectures, you'll have no problems with the quizzes. The quizzes will all be on eClass. They'll be mostly multiple choice, just to make it easier for grading, because they're going to be lickety-split fast things. 5, 7 questions. Sometimes there might be only 3. Just the questions will be directly related to the class material of that week's lecture. They're there as a safeguard to make sure that students aren't just playing videos for the attendance and then not actually attending, not watching the video. I had problems with this before where some students at the end of the semester, they knew nothing. They hadn't actually watched anything. So it came time for the final test and project. They crashed and burned in spectacular fashion. And I don't want that to happen. I want you to succeed, and that's important. Next, we do have some tests. There'll be 2 large tests. Both will be on e-class. You will have time. There'll be a window for it. So the test will cover material we went over in class and the course book. Multiple choice, short answer, short essay. Nothing too amazingly difficult, but it will all be directly related to what we've learning. And it's just there to make sure that we know what we're doing. I like to put a time limit on my test to make sure that you can sit down and get your test done in one go, in one sitting. So once you start one of my tests, you'll need to finish it in that time limit. You'll have enough time. You'll have 90 minutes or 120 minutes, plenty of time to do it. All the tests are going to be open book because obviously I can't pretend I can stop you. So the questions are going to be written in a way that assumes you can look at the book and look at the notes. So the questions will be a little harder, a little more difficult, because they're assuming that you know where to find the answers in the book. They are open book, but they are not open class, as in don't do the test with each other. That's no good. That's no good at all. I can't stop you from sharing information, but I have to trust you. And, I have to believe that, or else my faith in teaching deteriorates. So I have to do that. The test, nothing too stressful. Again, midterm, final test, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. There are going to be projects as well. A set number of projects, depending on how the semester is going. Should be 1 big project or 2 big projects, and this will be involved with directly teaching something or presenting something, as it depends on the class. So this will be actually more practical situations. You'll be given problems, given situations, and you'll need to make answers for them, present solutions to these problems. And so, because we're online, most unfortunately, you're going to have to be making video projects, but that's just how it must be. And we'll go over what that means. Make a video project, video lessons, video presentations, all those wonderful things as we continue along there. Let's get into our main lecture point, and this is an introduction to the main theme of this course for this course. And we're going to start with Pepsi, and I'm sure you all know the soft drink, the beverage Pepsi. So back in the 1970s, Howard Muscovitz, he's a researcher at Harvard, he was commissioned by the Pepsi company to find the perfect level of sweetness for Diet Pepsi, as in what would be the perfect level to taste the best to the most people. And he did his research. He went in and he tested different amounts of sweetness with different chemicals and got lots of data and came back. There was no answer. There was no bell curve or anything that would indicate what the best perfect level of sweetness would be. Everyone had their own individual flavors, their own preferences. And that led to his idea that there was no one perfect level of sweetness, only perfect levels. There was no perfect Pepsi, only perfect Pepsis. But Pepsi didn't like that answer. But other companies did. And the first company it's a pasta sauce maker called Prego. We see it sometimes now in Korea. Back in the old days, you had one flavor of spaghetti sauce. That was it. And different companies made spaghetti sauce, but it was all just regular spaghetti sauce, just marinara. Now here's the problem. Prego was doing very well, but they were number two. They were number two to another company called Ragu. And here's the problem with that. Prego, when they did blind taste testing, where they did testing with regular people, and they give them two different kinds of spaghetti sauces. Say, hey, which one do you like more? They answered they liked the Prego one more, even if they didn't know the name. But here's the problem: these people still bought Ragu. They had Prego had a better tasting sauce, but people weren't buying it, and that's the problem. So Howard Muscovitz, he took the lessons he learned from the Pepsi incident, and he did the same with Prego, with spaghetti sauce, and he tried to figure out what people liked. And so he developed 45 different kinds of spaghetti sauce, lots of different kinds, different flavors of sugar, of salt, of garlic, of tomatoes, of chunkiness, of meat, of all these different things. So everything was different. He had 45 different varieties. And he found that Americans fell into three groups. First group, those who like plain spaghetti sauce. And that's what was being sold. Those who liked chunky spaghetti sauce, with little bits of tomato and little bits of garlic in it. And those who like spicy spaghetti sauce. Here's the thing. No company in America had sold or was selling a chunky variety spaghetti sauce. But 1/3, 33% of everyone, of the respondents, they highly preferred it. But there was no product that they could buy. Something they really wanted, but nowhere they could buy it. So Prego made chunky spaghetti sauce. And nowadays you can see in America, in Korea, not as much, but you can see it. You don't have one choice of spaghetti sauce. You have dozens of choices for exactly what you want. You want sun-dried tomato. You want Florentine spinach and cheese. You want Merlot marinara. No matter what. Do you want mushrooms in it? Do you want tomatoes in it? Do you want little bits of meat in it? Do you want more cheese in it? All the different varieties that you could want, you can buy very easily. There is no perfect pasta sauce. There's only perfect pasta sauces. So how does that relate to this class? We're not cooking class. This relates to English because there is no perfect English, only perfect Englishese. And I want to maybe use this in a more relatable example. Who makes the best kimchi in Korea? Who makes the best kimchi? Where is the best kimchi made? I know you know the answer. The answer is nowhere. Or you have your own individual answer. Your answer might be your grandmother makes the best kimchi, or your aunt makes the best kimchi, or your mom makes the best kimchi, or people in, East Coast of Gangwon province makes the best kimchi, or the west side of Gangwon makes the best kimchi, or down in Busan that makes the best kimchi. Because kimchi is different everywhere. And everyone has their own version of kimchi, different ingredients and different climates for making a different taste. And that's very true. That's one of the wonderful things about kimchi. It is unifying, and we all know what it is, but there's small differences depending on where it is and where it's from and where it's made and who makes it. There is no perfect kimchi, only perfect kimchis. And this is true for English. There is no perfect English. American English is not perfect, is not the perfect English. British English is not the perfect English. Australian English is not the perfect English. You will have your personal preferences on what you like to hear and what vocabulary, what spelling you like. But it's no more correct or no less correct than the others. And so that's something we're going to be more and more introduced to as we go on, the different varieties of English, dialects, accents, and the emerging Englishes as well. So that's some of these you know already, and some you don't know. Some you might not be familiar with. For example, Malay English, or Indian English is very different than British English or American English. In fact, its timing is very different. We won't get into that for a little while, but it is something we'll be aware of. And there we have it. That's the main of it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the main of it. Now, because of classes and how it works out, the lecture time, the lecture video length for this course has to be at least 50 minutes long. Sometimes that's a little too long. Sometimes it's not enough time. Ha ha. But, it is what it is. So, just to review a bit more before we say goodbye, you do have a task to take care of. You have a job. You on the discussion section, under the discussion tab on eClass, there's the question, what is culture? And it's your personal answer. Don't just go and copy and paste what the dictionary says. I want you to think for 5 seconds and answer your answer. And because it's better for discussion that way. And then think of an example of a tangible example, a physical example, something we can touch and feel of culture, of a culture. So give an example, and then also an example of an intangible, something you cannot touch, you cannot feel, you cannot eat it. So that's your homework, your first homework assignment under the discussion tab. We'll get more into that later. And so this is a nice warm-up activity there. I mentioned before, I made a big point of it about there is no perfect English, only perfect English is, or Englishese, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And you'll see that in the example speeches I give you. There are going to be people who speak differently. And it's something I want you to be aware of, to grow more aware of. I know you've had lots of opportunities to hear, but I want to give you more and more, because it is really something I want to hammer on. Because when we don't want you, and we don't want our students to just, lose their identity by speaking English. English is part of is part of who we are. So we don't need to lose ourselves. We don't need to change our identity by doing so. So it's something to be aware of. It'll be a constant theme throughout this course. For this course as well, you're going to be making videos and video presentations and voiceovers. So please make sure that you can get a good environment to record your voice, and see what you can do to get a good place to record your voice. What facilities are available to you. I know, and I've seen this on television, check out your local public library and see what options there are, or in your local community centers. Sungnam City was making a big deal about their untacked conference room thing. So it's a place to have Zoom meetings in a very nice, safe environment. So see what you can do. See what you can find to make good voice recordings. It's something we'll talk about in the future, but sound quality is important. If our audience can't hear us, can't understand us, then obviously they can't listen to us. So be aware of that. And I know I don't have my camera on today because I didn't put my face isn't on, so to speak. And we don't really need it just now. VoiceOver's fine. And boy, learn how to ride. There we go. Now, so start looking and seeing if you can find places that have good microphones and see if you can find locations that are good to record your voice. And it is something to be aware of and to start being much more aware of, because as we're teaching more and more with this untacked mode, it's become very obvious that we do need to have quality in our equipment, quality in our presentation. And that quality will play a role. So that's something we'll work on, that we'll practice, that I want to help you improve on this semester as well. So it's things to look forward to. Make sure you go on eClass and take a look at the manuscript. It's a PDF. It's nothing too substantial, it's like 60 pages or something, nothing too long. We'll go through it week by week, going over different parts of speeches, of public speaking, and we're going to be practicing these methods. I think probably you've learned how to do this. You've been taught how to do it. But in my experience with this class, few students actually do take advantage of these methods. So it's something that we're going to be more aware of. We're going to practice a lot more week to week, because it's good to practice. Practice makes permanent, as they say. So, just to summarize, hopefully one final time as we get towards the end of our time together this week, if you have any questions, please ask first on eClass. The Q&A section is very, very helpful. Please use it. It allows everyone to see and share and take advantage of the information. If you have any other questions that are more singular to you, then yeah, you can use eClass Messenger or email. eClass Messenger is very helpful. Everything's on the single system. It's all nice and tidy. And don't forget to take part in the class discussion, answering the questions. Be ready next week to think about vocabulary and word choice. And what we're going to talk about is flavorful versus fluffy language, and what they are, and which is better, and how we use them. As students, you use fluffy language quite a bit. As someone who has an arbitrary time limit for lectures, sometimes I have to use fluffy language as well. Things that we have to elongate, to make it longer, to make it sound better. And that's why we're here. Now, so it's nice to preview ahead. We don't have any great big tasks for us, but it is something answering what is culture and providing the 2 examples. Then also, what else do we have? No, next week we'll start with a proper lecture, but it's something that it will be hopefully quite good. This video is going to cut out at 50 minutes and 1 second. I think that should be enough. So please let the video play until the video stops. Play until the end to make sure your attendance is counted. So, all right. Thank you very much. Have an excellent week. Stay safe, for all love, and we'll see each other again next class. Thank you and goodbye.